Hi guys, welcome back to my channel and welcome back to another book review video. I am trying a new setup. I'm in my new office and I've never filmed a video where I need to be able to look at notes which are in front of me. So trying to get the angle right, we'll get better at it. I just want to make sure there's no unnecessary things in the screen, any weird monitors, because I have monitors over here. This is my work desk and my YouTube work desk, and so if you see any edges of monitors or anything like that, I'm gonna work on that when I'm editing and I see what I can see, because sometimes what's in my frame of my camera isn't really everything that's shown when I go to edit. It's very weird. So anyway, welcome back to my channel. So I do have notes here in front of me. Always like to preface that in case you see me look down or anything. I have a lot of books to talk about. I'm gonna talk about all the books that I read during the fall season. As you guys know, I'm trying to do these seasonally now. Unless I really get back into a good groove of reading, then I'll go back to monthly reviews. But right now, while I'm just busy and still trying to get into that groove again, I'm going to just do seasonal book review videos. I've read 9 books in the months of September, October, and November, which again is not my best, but I still feel very good about that, considering that I've been in a bit of a reading slump the last 6 months. So 9 books was very good for me. As always, I'm going to give you the Goodreads rating at the time of filming this video, which I want to explain that a little bit. Goodreads ratings, as people do their ratings and give their stars, it can affect the overall rating for Goodreads, but I get a lot of requests to give the Goodreads ratings for these books. So I'm just letting you know at the time of filming this video, what the rating is that I give you will be what the rating is. I'll also give you my personal rating. There will be no spoilers in this review video. I read pretty much exclusively ebooks. They're just definitely my preference. They're easy to take around with you. Plus you can usually find any book that you want through ebooks. Where do I find my ebooks? I find them through my local library. Most libraries have some sort of app affiliated with them where you can read ebooks, and my library has a pretty extensive catalog of ebooks. I also find them through Amazon Prime Reading, which is free with your Amazon Prime service, and through Kindle Unlimited, which is a pay service through Amazon. There are a ton of books to choose from on Kindle Unlimited. And I also do find really good sales through Amazon and through Apple Books. I normally will not pay over $3.99 for a book. I usually, if I see a book that I really want to read and it's over $3.99 and I don't have any digital credits on my Kindle, then I will go look at my library and see if I can get it there. If I have found a book through Prime Reading or through the Kindle Unlimited service, I will let you know. There will be links to these services, as well as links to each of the books' Goodreads page and the Amazon page where you can read reviews or purchase. If you want to be friends on Goodreads, my link is also down below. I'll tell you, with Kindle Unlimited, especially right now being the holiday season, there's a lot of really good deals going on. A lot of times you can get it for 99 cents per month for 6 months, 3 months. I'm not sure what the deal is that's going on. I do pay $9.99 a month for it. I feel like it is worth it to me because I could, if I wanted to, only read books through Kindle Unlimited. There's that many books that I would be interested in, but I do like to broaden my horizon and try to get newer books as well to read through my library. Okay, let's get into the reviews. I always do my reviews in the order of what I have read them in, not by the order of how well I liked them. This will probably be a little bit longer review video, so grab yourself a snack, grab a drink, because we do have 9 books to talk about. Number 1 is The Younger Wife by Sally Hepworth. My rating, 4 stars. The Goodreads rating, 3.84 stars. I am a really big fan of Sally Hepworth. This is the 4th book that I have read by this author. So far, my favorite has been Mother-in-Law, which is the one I would recommend you starting with if you're new to this author. Okay, as always, let's start with the synopsis of this book. The husband, a heart surgeon at the top of his field, Stephen Aston, is getting married again. But first, he must divorce his current wife, even though she can no longer speak for herself. The daughters, Tully and Rachel Aston, look upon their father's fiancée, Heather, as nothing but an interloper. Heather is younger than both of them. Clearly, she's after their father's money. The former wife, with their mother in a precarious position, Tully and Rachel are determined to get to the truth about their family's secrets. the new wife closing in, and who their father really is. The younger wife, Heather, has secrets of her own. Will getting to the truth unleash the most dangerous impulses in all of them? The book is told from 3 different points of view. Tully, the older daughter, Rachel, the younger daughter, and Heather, the younger wife. Rachel and Tully are less than thrilled about their dad's engagement to a woman that is younger than them. I think the oldest daughter, I think she is just within a couple of years of age of the wife, or the wife-to-be. Especially since he is still married to their mother. So there is a story behind that, but I don't want to give any spoilers, but they are still married. I really liked the multiple perspective as well as the issues that each woman is facing in the story. You kind of get to know them and know their situation and really feel them and know all of their trauma that they've had and just everything about their lives. One thing that this author is so good at is character development. All of the books I have read so far have had excellent character development. Characters are always super easy to connect with. This book is really light and humorous, but also deep and dark. So it really has everything all mixed together in one book. The author really tackles some super difficult subjects in this book, but she does so in a way that allows them to like intertwine, overlap, and just mesh very well together. I'll tell you, if you like domestic thrillers, definitely read a Sally Hepworth book because she is just a master of that domestic thriller. It really reminds me, her books really remind me a lot of Leanne Moriarty. Is that how you say it? Moriarty? You guys know what I'm talking about. I'll try to remember to put the name up here, but really reminds me of her books. This book is about dysfunctional families, lots of secrets. You'll really love this book if that's what really appeals to you. I figured out fairly early on what was going on, but I was still highly invested in this story. But that is why I only gave it 4 stars. Because it's not a mystery to me, then it's usually not going to get 5 stars for me. But definitely she is the master of domestic thrillers about dysfunctional families, and which are always a really fun read. Number 2, The End of Her by Sherry Lapina. My rating 4 stars, Goodreads rating 3.8 stars. This is my 3rd book by this author. I say that only like this because you're going to see another Sherry Lapina book in this review video, so I think this is number 3. Here's the synopsis. In upstate New York, Stephanie and Patrick are adjusting to life with their colicky twin babies. The girls are a handful, but Stephanie doesn't mind being a stay-at-home mom, taking care of them while Patrick does the 9 to 5 to pay the bills. When a woman from Patrick's past drops in on them unexpectedly, raising questions about his late first wife, Stephanie supports her husband wholeheartedly. She knows the car accident all those many years ago was just that, an accident. But Erica is persistent, and now she's threatening to go to the police. Patrick is afraid his job and his reputation will be at risk if he doesn't put an end to Erica's questioning immediately. And when the police start digging, Stephanie's trust in her husband begins to falter, and Patrick is primed to lose everything he loves. After their marriage crumbles, Stephanie feels herself unglued, and soon she isn't sure what or who to believe. Now, the most important thing is to protect her girls, but at what cost? The author did an excellent job of not revealing everything about the characters at the first of the novel, which really caused me to enjoy the book more as I tried to figure out who was telling the truth about whether the death of Patrick's previous wife was either an accident or a murder. So just by not revealing everything about those characters, you really got to know them, and then that's as the story kind of really started unfolding. What I loved about this book, short chapters. Short chapters in books always mean that the suspense just really builds a lot quicker, at least for me it does. The complex, twisty plot with lots of characters just to confuse everything more, but in a good way. Sherry Lapina can really handle multiple characters very well. Some authors don't handle it very well, and you find yourself getting lost in all the characters. Characters just don't even add to the story. That she does not. She does the multiple character thing very well. No one is ever safe in her books either. The twists are just so hard to see coming. So the character, you never know what's going to happen to each character, and usually none of them are safe. The only thing I did not love about this book, the ending was just not all I wanted it to be. It did have a resolution, but it just kind of ended a little abruptly for me. I wanted just a little bit more from it. But I do highly recommend this quick, intense, and dark domestic thriller. Number 3, Book Lovers by Emily Henry. My rating 5 stars, the Goodreads rating 4.25 stars. This is the first book I have read from this author, but I can tell you it will not be the last. I have heard about Emily Henry books on Instagram and just on YouTube, but I just never picked one up. No idea why. I think this is actually one of the newer books of her books, so I do want to go back and read some of her older books because this one totally got me, totally. So let's first talk about the synopsis, then we'll go into all of my thoughts. Nora Stevens' life is books. She's read them all and she is not that type of heroine. Not the plucky one, not the laid-back dream girl, and especially not the sweetheart. In fact, the only people Nora is a heroine for are her clients, for whom she lands enormous deals as a cutthroat literary agent, and her beloved little sister Libby. Which is why she agrees to go to Sunshine Falls, North Carolina for the month of August when Libby begs for a sister's trip away. With visions of a small town transformation for Nora, who she's convinced needs to become the heroine in her own story. But instead of picnics in meadows or run-ins with a handsome country doctor or bulging four-armed bartender, Nora keeps bumping into Charlie Lastra, a bookish, brooding editor from back in the city. It would be a meet cute if not for the fact that they've met many times and it's never been cute. If Nora knows she's not an ideal heroine, Charlie knows he's nobody's hero. But as they are thrown together again and again in a series of coincidences no editor worth their salt would allow, what they discover might just unravel the carefully crafted stories they've written about themselves. But probably would not come to a surprise to anyone who knows me that my favorite movies to watch are thriller, mystery, horror movies. My second favorite are rom-coms. The same goes with books. However, it's always hard for me to find a good rom-com, and that's why you don't see me review very many of them. I think last year there was a few, the year before there was a couple. Definitely please let me know if there is one that you love that I should read, because this book really wanted me to grab more, and I would have just went and grabbed a couple more of her books, but I like to kind of branch out as much as I can with different authors throughout the month to read. But okay, now let's just talk about this book. I love this book. Every single page of it. I can't even think of really anything bad. The witty banter between Charlie and Nora was just absolutely hilarious. That's what to me makes a good rom-com book, is just that banter in between the two characters who are usually, this is like a hate to love type trope, which is, or enemies to lovers, however you want to say it. I love that one of my favorites. I mean, they're not super like enemies, but you know, they just that like of each other starts to grow in the book. I also appreciate the conflict between the characters because it was so realistic, and it really did make it seem uncertain that they would get through it. The build-up in the story made it really hard to step away from this book. I started reading it late in the day, like in the evening, and so I couldn't read it all in one day. If I had started reading this on like a Saturday or Sunday, I definitely would have read this all in one day, no doubt, easily. I found myself just completely absorbed in the storyline. The characterization was excellent. All the characters are likable, but also imperfect, which is fabulous. They just felt so real and believable. There were also some really serious themes in this without being too heavy that gave the book depth and purpose. The themes were blended perfectly with the storyline and the characters. I honestly could go on and on how much I love this book, but it goes without saying that I highly recommend this one. Number 4, Never Lie by Frida McFadden. My rating 5 stars. Goodreads rating 4.33. It would not be a book review video for me without at least one Frida McFadden book. Easily my favorite author these days. This is the 5th or 6th book. I want to say it's the 6th book that I have read by this author. This book and all of her other books can be found on Kindle Unlimited. So definitely if you do like one of the cheaper like trial services, or if you can even get like a free trial, start with her books if you are a fan of thriller, mystery, suspense novels. Let's go into the synopsis. Newlyweds Trisha and Ethan are searching for the house of their dreams. But when they visit the remote manor that once belonged to Dr. Adrian Hale, a renowned psychiatrist who vanished without a trace 4 years earlier, a violent winter storm traps them at the estate, with no chance of escape until the blizzard comes to an end. In search of a book to keep her entertained until the snow abates, Trisha happens upon a secret room, one that contains audio transcripts from every single patient Dr. Hale has ever interviewed. As Trisha listens to the cassette tape, she learns about the terrifying chain of events leading up to Dr. Hale's mysterious disappearance. Trisha plays the tapes one by one, late into the night, with each one another shocking piece of the puzzle falls into place and Dr. Adrian Hale's web of lies slowly unravels. And then Trisha reaches the final cassette. This book offers what Freida McFadden does best: a well-written book with an intricate plot, well-developed characters. Edge of your seat suspense. This book is no different. This was a captivating psychological thriller that has twists and turns galore. I have stopped trying to figure out the twists in her books. It's just no use anyway, because I always think when I have it, but nope, the plot takes this quick turn and you're left with your mouth open and mind racing and the rug just yanked out right from under you every single time. So you know what, don't even try to figure it out because you don't know the answer. This is really one of Freida McFadden's best books that I have read. By far, one of the best. Pick it up. That's all I'm going to say about this, because honestly, you don't need to know anything more going into any of her books. You will not be disappointed. Just pick one up, but this one definitely is one of my favorites so far. Number 5, Next of Kin by Kia Abdullah. My rating, 3 stars. You know, this one was kind of hard, so 2.5, 2.75, 3 stars. Goodreads rating 4.27. So many mixed feelings about this book. So many. Let's go ahead and talk about the synopsis, then we'll go into my thoughts. Layla Saeed receives a call that cleaves her life in two. Her brother-in-law's voice is filled with panic. He's at his son's nursery to pick up Max, but he isn't there. Layla was supposed to drop Max off that morning, but she forgot. Racing to the carport, she grasps the horror of what she has done. Max has been locked in her car for 6 hours on the hottest day of the year. She's too late. What follows is an explosive, high-profile trial that will tear the family apart. But as the case progresses, it becomes clear there's more to this incident than meets the eye. And like I said earlier, a lot of mixed feelings on this book. I was really excited to read this book because I haven't read a good courtroom legal book in a long time. I love courtroom dramas. I don't know why I don't pick them up more. I think just trying to find an author. I mean, I love watching courtroom drama movies and even TV shows, but it's just trying to find a book that I really like. Sometimes it's kind of hard. So I was really excited when I saw that this was what that type of book was going to be. Like I said, so many mixed feelings. Start with the pros. Solid writing. I was sucked in early on and even told people that I know that read a lot of books, and a lot of books that I like, that this was a great book. Never heard of this author before. Already recommended the book before I even finished it. I thought it had an interesting plot and premise. The author did a really good job dealing with such an emotional subject in a very sensitive and appropriate way. Not every author could do that. Again, I think it really leads to, talks to the writing style of this author, because they were able to do that. And that's why I think they were able to handle such an emotional subject in the way that they did. Okay, the cons. The characters' grief, none of the characters in the story, the main characters, none of their grief felt real to me. I wanted more from them. I wanted more emotional turmoil. I didn't feel like there was enough. I mean, we're talking about a child here and the situation that we're talking about, and I just felt like their emotional turmoil just was not real, and I just wanted more. I felt like there should have been more, something to make me care about them and to feel their grief, and I didn't feel like that was there. The court case sections also, I didn't feel like the evidence that was presented during the book, that it seemed extremely weak. And again, this is maybe because I'm coming from where I'm watching courtroom dramas on TV, although I used to watch court TV with actual court cases, and I do listen to a lot of true crime podcasts, and I feel like, that they could have presented, I kind of almost feel like the prosecutor wouldn't even have brought this to trial with the evidence that they had. And I just felt like the evidence they were presenting just wasn't the evidence that they would be using if this was real life. I don't know. It just felt kind of odd to me. Also, the ending just didn't sit well for me. It's not a bad book. It's just not the best one that I've ever read. And I did read some reviews after reading this book. I don't like to read reviews going into books unless it has a really bad rating. If a book has a really bad Goodreads rating, but it sounds really good to me, I'll read some reviews, non-spoiler reviews, to see what the reasoning that people gave it bad reviews. And if it's just a personal preference type thing, then I, like maybe they didn't like the genre, or just I'll just read it and I think, okay, that kind of stuff wouldn't matter to me, so then I will read the book. But in this case, it had really high reviews, and so I went to read some of those really high reviews, and I realized it seems like this author is very popular, even though I've never heard of this author before. But it feels like most people said that they liked the other author's books better than this one, but that this one wasn't as highly loved as the other ones, but the people still really enjoyed this one. So I don't know, just wasn't my type of book, but I definitely am not going to write off this writer. I think I will definitely seek out maybe some other, at least one other book, just so I can see if I like those books better. Number 6, The Intruder by Daniel Hurst. My rating 6 stars, Goodreads rating 4.13. This is my first Daniel Hurst book, and this book you can find free on Kindle Unlimited. Again, another one where I have lots of feelings about. It was kind of like a back-to-back book where this had, where the books have really high Goodreads ratings, and mine was kind of like, I get done reading it, I'm like, okay, what? Like, why does this have such high ratings on Goodreads and I am like struggling to give it a 3-star rating? That was the last 2 books. Okay, let's talk about the synopsis and then we'll go into my feelings, a lot of my feelings. Getting into their house was easy. The hard part was getting out. Maria and William seemed to have it all: 2 happy children, a beautiful house, a thriving business. But when their home is invaded by David, an ex-employee with a score to settle, the couple face a terrifying fight to survive. During the course of one hellish night, David picks apart their carefully constructed life. Secrets are unearthed, truths are revealed. And soon David begins to wonder if he's bitten off more than he can chew, because he's discovering Maria and William are not the defenseless couple he imagined. By the time he realizes who these people really are, it may already be too late. Who will make it out alive? I'm gonna make this as short and sweet as I can, so I won't talk too much about this one. I don't like to talk negatively about books because I feel like there's a book out there for everyone. And I feel like just because I don't like this book, obviously tens of thousands of people liked this book because it has a over 4 Goodreads rating. Don't know how many ratings were on there, but I feel like it's quite a few. Daniel Hurst has a ton of books on Kindle Unlimited. So I feel like I don't want to write off this author. I feel like I want to try other books from this author. I don't know what it was. It just did not sit well with me. One of the things, this book is told in multiple point of views, which I love multiple point of views from books. I feel like it really helps move the story along and you get a lot out of each character. I feel like that makes great character development when somebody does multiple point of views. And because of these multiple point of views, there's some really nice cliffhangers, which I love when there's a cliffhanger on a chapter. Also, short chapters. Again, one thing I love about books, short chapters. Those are my favorite types of books. However, I felt like the first half of this book and the second half of the book were 2 different stories. It was like instantly, it was like I was reading 2 different books. It was very odd. The storyline with David and the storyline with Maria and William at the end, while connected, they felt very separate. It just wasn't very cohesive to me. The book had a great plot and ending, but the writing in David's section, there's one storyline with David and then the one storyline with Maria and William. David's section, it just really lacked depth and complexity for me. I just wanted so much more from his narrative. The ending came on fast and it did felt a little bit rushed, but I did enjoy the ending. It just felt like it was just way too quick. It's almost like, let's just get to the end. That's kind of how I felt. It was very entertaining, but just too many rushed twists. I felt like every plot twist was very rushed, and I think it just gets spoiled by those authors that I love that just do plot twists so well. But again, I liked the writing in this book, and I think I will give this author another try because again, there's a ton of his books on Kindle Unlimited, so I might as well try it. It's no money out of my pocket. Might as well try another one. If you've read any books by this author, recommend one to me. Number 7, Someone We Know by Sherry Lapina. My rating 4 stars, Goodreads rating 3.94. So yes, 2 Sherry Lapina books in one review. After reading the end of her, I just went in search of other books I had not read by this author. I just forgot how much I love this author. I had read a couple of her other books long time ago, not I think last year, maybe even the year before, and I just forgotten about her until this one popped up on my Apple Books, or the other one, End of Her, popped up on my Apple Books or something, and it just reminded me that I hadn't read that author in a long time, and I was just wanted to read it. And then after reading The End of Her, I was just kind of like, okay, I need to find another one. So I went in search of some of the other books by this author, and I found this one, Someone We Know, was on sale on Kindle for $2.99. So that's still the same price at the filming of this video. So hopefully if you guys go in there to look for it, it'll still be $2.99. So this is the fourth book I have read by this author. Let's go in the synopsis. Maybe you don't know your neighbors as well as you thought you did. Quote, this is a very difficult letter to write. I hope you will not hate us too much. My son broke into your home recently while you were out, end quote. In a quiet, leafy suburb in upstate New York, a teenager has been sneaking into houses and into the owner's computers as well, learning their secrets and maybe sharing some of them too. Who is he, and what might he have uncovered? After 2 anonymous letters are received, whispers start to circulate as suspicion mounts. And when a woman down the street is found murdered, the tension reaches the breaking point. Who killed her? Who knows more than they're telling? And how far will all of these very nice people go to protect their own secrets? In this neighborhood, it's not just the husband and wives who play games. Here, everyone in the family has something to hide. I really enjoy this author's writing style. I cannot say enough about it. It's action-driven. Feels like something is happening in every single sentence that she writes. No unnecessary descriptions, straight to the point. Every page has the essentials, which makes reading her novels just so quick and riveting. This neighborhood has a lot of juicy secrets, and they are revealed at a perfect pace. It's so good. There's a lot of characters to keep track of, as usual in her books, but they're all very fascinating and easy to remember, in no small part due to the respective scandals and dirty laundry they're all trying to hide. That's really how you get to know each of the characters, is by their scandals, so they're really hard to forget. This book is just a good old-fashioned whodunit that will keep you dialed in and in the dark all the way to the end. There was really never a dull moment, and nothing in the book felt rushed. The ending lacked a shock factor for me. That is the only reason it's not a 5-star read. It may be enough for some people, but for me, you guys know I like that hard-hitting, just wow factor for me to give a 5-star rating. But highly recommend anything by Cheryl Lapina. I cannot remember the one, Unwanted Guest. I think that's the one I gave 5 stars to. So check out An Unwanted Guest. I'm pretty sure that's a newer one, and I did give 5 stars to that one. But I think you can pick up any of her books and you guys will really love them. Book number 8, In 5 Years by Rebecca Surley. My rating, 2.5 to 3 stars. Yes, I know, you guys know I'm gonna have a lot to say. Goodreads rating, 3.81 stars. I really stepped out of my comfort zone when I chose this book to read. So let's read the synopsis, then I'll share my thoughts. Where do you see yourself in 5 years? When type A Manhattan lawyer Dani Cohen is asked this question at the most important interview of her career, she has a meticulously crafted answer at the ready. Later, after nailing her interview and accepting her boyfriend's marriage proposal, Dani goes to sleep knowing she is right on track to achieve her 5-year plan. But when she wakes up, she's suddenly in a different apartment with a different ring on her finger and beside a very different man. The television news is on in the background, and she can just make out the scrolling date. It's the same night, December 15th, but 2025, 5 years in the future. After a very intense, shocking hour, Dani wakes up again at the brink of midnight back in 2020. She can't shake what happened. It certainly felt much more than merely a dream. She isn't the kind of person who believes in visions. That nonsense is only charming coming from free-spirited types like her lifelong best friend Bella. Determined to ignore the odd experience, she files it away in the back of her mind. That is until 4.5 years later when, by chance, Dani meets the very same man from her long ago vision. Okay. I went into this book thinking it would be a rom-com, a light chick lit, read. This seems to be a highly loved book. If you read any of the 4 and 5 star ratings, which I did after I read this, again, because I was a little unsettled by my rating versus the Goodreads rating, and people love this book. So if you've read and love this book, please don't take offense. It is not my intent to diminish another reader's experience ever with any of my reviews. I don't like giving spoilers in my reviews, so I may have to do some heavy editing, pausing with this portion of the video. So let's get into this. My experience reading this was just not a good one. I struggled getting through this. I mean, struggled. I almost put it down so many times, but I was a little invested, really wanted to see what the outcome was, mainly because of the vision that was talked about in the synopsis. I just found this book so very frustrating to read. First of all, this is not a romance book. Don't let the synopsis fool you. It's not a romance book. What the synopsis describes as the main point very much is not. This is a book about friendship. Let's talk about the friendship. It is the only redeeming quality for me about this book. This author definitely can write a good friendship story that the reader cares about. I mean, I definitely cared about the friendship. I looked forward to the scenes between the two friends. I wanted to know more about the friendship. I just thought it was the best part of the book by far. And the reason why it is 3 stars, 2.5, 3 stars is because of that. I had zero emotional connection with the other characters. Actually, even with the 2 friends, really didn't have any emotional connection with them except for the friendship. It's the only thing that I cared about, but not about the characters, but the actual friendship. Which is surprising because this book has plenty of emotional scenes, but I just didn't feel for any of them because I did not think the characterization of these characters was developed very well. I think that's why the ending just fell flat for me. I definitely didn't react the way that I know the author wanted me to react, because I even felt like, what kind of a person am I to not react this way once the kind of the twist or the ending came through? Like, why did I not care more? It actually made me start questioning myself as a person. But let's end on a positive note. This author is definitely not a bad writer. Again, I thought the friendship was great. I just didn't care about the characters, didn't care about the storyline. I wasn't engaged enough. However, though, I do think that people who enjoy like contemporary literature type reads will really like this one. I just don't think this one was for me. The last book, which I feel like I have done really well to flow this through. I may think that now and then I go to edit and there's like an hour long of footage in there, but we'll see what it is. Book number 9, The Prisoner by B.A. Paris. My rating 4 stars, Goodreads rating 3.59 stars. The Prisoner is the 3rd book I read by B.A. Paris. I will always pick up something by this author. And actually, I thought I had read more by this author. I think it's because the first 2 books that I read by this author, I read back to back. But I just didn't pick up any more right away. I still feel like there's one more out there that maybe I just have not marked as read that I did read, because I feel like this is hard to believe this is only my 3rd book by this author. I'll have to check on that. Okay, let's talk about the synopsis, and we're going to go into my many thoughts and love for this book. Emily, not sure how you say that, has always been a survivor, from losing her parents as a child in Paris to making it on her own in London. As she builds a life for herself, she is swept up into a glamorous lifestyle where she married the handsome billionaire Jed Hawthorne. But then Emily wakes up in a pitch black room, not knowing where she is. Why has she been taken? Who are her mysterious captors? And why does she soon feel safer here imprisoned than she had begun to feel with her husband, Jed? Firstly, the synopsis names her husband as Jed, but his name is Ned. So weird. I don't know if it was just a typo, and I don't know who does their synopsises. I don't know what the back of the book says because I get this on an e-reader. I might have to look at the cover. I'm just curious if the synopsis says Jed on the back of the book. I'm gonna look real quick because I'm curious about this. I couldn't find the back cover, but I went and looked on Amazon, and on Amazon it names him as Ned, not Jed. So I'm just thinking it's probably a typo on Goodreads. So anyway, his name is Ned. The story is told in a past and present timeline and told in 2 different parts. Love when there's a past and present if it's done really well, which B.A. Paris does it very well. Let's go into the prose of this book. The writing during the scenes where Emily is being held prisoner were absolutely amazing. It was like the author wrote those pages while sitting in the dark. So real. If you ever wonder how you would react if you were being held prisoner, you will after reading this book. I was actually in awe during these chapters, during the time when she was being held prisoner, and just the descriptions, I was in awe. Like, I felt like the author did so well. I mean, you could do really bad in that type of case and you'd just be super unbelievable. I mean, we've seen movies. If you're like me and you watch those dark, twisty thriller horror movies, then you know what I'm talking about. Sometimes they're done really well, sometimes they're not done very well. This, the descriptions, the feeling, you felt it. It's so good. Like, I cannot rave enough about those chapters. The plot line is so very unique. I feel like actually all of her plot lines are really unique in all of the books. Really good. Short chapters that build pace and mystery, lots of twists and turns per usual. And you have this likable main character, and I rooted for her the entire book. I truly cared about what happened to Emily. Such an easy character to connect with. Cons. So there are some cons in the book, for me anyway. Emily's character going through as much as she does at being someone so young. I believe she's 20 in this book, 19 or 20. Well, we see her in past and present, but in the present time, I believe she's 19 or 20. And honestly, the things that she goes through in this book are so tragic. It was really hard at times sometimes to focus on the rest of the story. I felt sorry for her, and I'm really not sure that every single one of the bad, tragic things that happened to her was really necessary for the story. Like, I don't think that it really added much to the story, except for it did make you care about the character. So if that was the purpose, that definitely worked. The other characters really, though, lacked depth and development. I really wanted to know more, especially about her husband. She has friends in the story, and you don't know a lot about them besides where they work and how she met them and that type of thing. And you did know more about them a little bit, but her husband, Ned, I wanted to know so much more about him. Like, why was he the person that he was? We know zero about him. And I feel like there really could have been spent some extra time on his backstory to really be able to connect with him and to know him. Also, it's like that would maybe help us know what the attraction was for Emily to Ned. I felt like there was just, since this character was just not very well developed, I just felt like it wasn't very clear or believable for her to end up with him, especially given the tragedy that she has had in her life. I don't know. Maybe it made her, maybe her tragedy made her more of a naive person, but she didn't really come off as being naive. Like, she was so strong because of the tragedies, but I feel like in this case, she was being more naive than I don't know. It just kind of makes sense with how strong she was, and in this case with him, but we didn't know anything about him, so maybe there was more about him that she knew that we didn't know. I don't know. I just felt like we needed to know more about him. I just was craving to know more about him and what made him tick. Really, that's what I wanted to know. Overall, though, a fantastic book, had good pacing, excellent twists. I read this book in one sitting. I started it either on a Saturday or Sunday, and I read it the entire day up until bedtime. So good, so good. Definitely the positive attributes of this book absolutely surpassed any negative ones. Huge fan of this author. This book is just as excellent as the prior books. There you go, guys. All 9 books that I've read during the fall season. Now I am going into reading some holiday books. I will be doing a Vlogmas this year, so I will be doing a holiday book review video probably towards the middle of December, because I've not started reading any holiday books yet, and we're like right here at the end of November. So I do plan on trying to read at least 4 holiday books to be able to do a book review video, but I will definitely be reviewing some of the newer holiday books. I plan on reading a couple new ones and a couple old ones I didn't get to last year, but I'll try to read as many as I can to do a whole holiday book review video. But I want to do the video early enough in December where it's still the holiday season if you guys want to pick any of those up. So stay tuned for that video. That'll be out, like I said, either probably about I want to say around 16th, 17th December. I want to try to fall around in that area, so stay tuned for that. As usual, I will have everything linked down below in the description box. I will have the link to their Amazon page, to the Goodreads page, and if this is, again, if it's on Kindle Unlimited, check out Kindle Unlimited. I will have a link to that. I will have a link to Amazon Prime Reads of the Month, and anything else that I always link down below in my book review. Oh, if you want to be friends on Goodreads, I will have my Goodreads page linked down below. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye, guys.